The alien nurse vowed to cure me. So why am I missing my pants? Everything hurt. That was Commander Eli Mason's first coherent thought, as consciousness returned to him like a slow-moving tide. The second thought was that his expedition to the uncharted planet Kepler 186f had gone terribly wrong. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth as he tried to move, sending waves of searing pain through his torso. Bad idea, he muttered, lying still on what felt like hard ground. The research expedition had been simple: document new species in the northern region of the planet. But the massive insectoid creatures they'd encountered had other plans that involved tearing through his protective suit and shredding his side open. Eli remembered the attack in flashes. The chittering sounds, the bladed appendages, his team scattering. Then darkness. He should be dead, yet here he was, alive and in agony, somewhere that smelled of unfamiliar herbs and clean metal. He forced his eyes open, blinking against the soft blue light that suffused the room. It wasn't the expedition's medical bay. The architecture was all wrong, curved and flowing like frozen water, with no right angles anywhere. Where? He began, but a sound cut him off. Movement from the corner of the room. A figure approached, tall and graceful, with blue-tinged skin that seemed to shimmer under the light. Humanoid, but clearly not human. An alien, one of the Lyridians, the native sentient species they'd been warned to avoid. "You wake," the alien said, its voice melodic and strangely accented. "Good." Nearly lost. Eli tried to sit up again and made two alarming discoveries. First, his wrists were bound to whatever surface he was lying on. Second, he wasn't wearing a single stitch of clothing. "What the why am I naked?" he demanded, pulling against the restraints. "Where are my clothes?" The alien tilted its head, large eyes blinking slowly. Interfere with healing. Must be skin to skin. Now that his vision had cleared, Eli could see that the alien was female, or at least presented that way. She wore a simple wrap around her torso, leaving her arms and lower legs exposed. Luminescent patterns traced across her blue skin in swirling designs that almost seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. "I'm Millet," she said, approaching closer. "Healer." "Commander Eli Mason," he replied automatically. "And I appreciate the help, but I'd appreciate my pants even more." Nayla either didn't understand or chose to ignore his request. She placed a hand on his chest, and Eli gasped as warmth spread from her touch, radiating outward like ripples in water. "What are you doing to me?" he asked, his voice unsteady as the sensation intensified. "Healing bond," she explained, her large eyes fixed on his. "Your body accepts my energy, repairs itself." The warmth turned to heat, then to something like electricity coursing through his veins. It wasn't entirely unpleasant, but it was intense, almost intimate in a way that made him increasingly uncomfortable given his current state of undress and restraint. "Is this how you normally treat patients?" Eli asked, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity. "Only dire cases," Nayla replied. "You were breaking apart, inside bleeding. Needed deep healing." She moved her hand to his injured side, and Eli hissed as the sensation intensified tenfold. He could feel something happening beneath his skin. A tingling, crawling feeling as tissues knit together and bones realigned. "Almost done," she murmured, leaning closer. Her face was inches from his now, her breath warm against his cheek. "Need final connection. Energy transfer." Before Eli could ask what that meant, Nayla pressed her forehead against his. The world exploded into color and sensation. It felt as though every nerve in his body had been set alight simultaneously, pain and pleasure so intertwined he couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. He was vaguely aware of his back arching off the table, of a sound escaping his throat that was half groan, half cry. The room around him seemed to pulse with energy, the blue light intensifying until it was almost blinding. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, It stopped. Nella pulled away, swaying slightly on her feet. Something had changed in her expression, a new vulnerability that hadn't been there before. What? What just happened? Eli asked, his voice ragged. You live, Nella said simply, though there was something in her tone that suggested this was far from a simple medical procedure. Rest now. More later. As she turned to leave, Eli called after her. Wait. My restraints. And my clothes. But Nella had already disappeared through an opening in the wall, leaving Eli alone with the fading glow of the lights, the lingering sensation of her touch, and a growing suspicion that his survival had come at a price he didn't yet understand. When Eli awoke again, the blue light had dimmed to a gentle glow. His side no longer felt like it was on fire, and the metallic taste of blood had faded from his mouth. Progress, he thought, though he was still naked and restrained. Movement caught his eye. Nella had returned. She approached slowly, almost hesitantly, as if approaching a wild animal. Something about her had changed. The luminescent patterns on her skin seemed dimmer, and there was a weariness to her movements that hadn't been there before. You look terrible, Eli said, then winced at his lack of diplomacy. I mean, you seem tired. Healing takes energy, she replied, reaching for his bindings. From both sides. Her fingers brushed his wrist as she released the restraints, sending a jolt through his system that felt unnervingly familiar. Eli sat up slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements. The pain in his side had reduced to a dull ache, which was miraculous considering the state he'd been in. He looked down at where the wound should have been and saw only a faint silvery line tracing across his skin. That's impossible, he murmured, touching the healed area gently. Even with our medical technology, this would take weeks. Nella handed him a folded garment, a simple robe similar to what she wore. Eli accepted it gratefully, slipping it on with as much dignity as he could muster. Your methods are unusual, he said, tying the robe closed, but effective. Thank you. Nella nodded, but there was something distant in her gaze. The bond worked well. Your body accepted my energy. About that, Eli began. What exactly is this bond? It felt intimate, she finished for him. Yes, is sharing of life force. Energy transfer, deep connection. The clinical description didn't quite match the experience, but Eli nodded anyway. He swung his legs over the edge of the platform he'd been lying on, testing his strength. His muscles felt strangely energized, despite everything he'd been through. Where are we? And what happened to the rest of my team? Safe facility. Your people search, but cannot find. Shielded location. Nella gestured vaguely. Did not want interference during healing. That raised several alarming possibilities. Are we prisoners? No, Nella said firmly. Protected. Others would not understand. My people, traditional. Healing bond is special. Something in her tone made Eli pause. Special how? Before she could answer, the door slid open. Another Liridian entered, taller, broader, with patterns that glowed a fierce red rather than Nella's subtle blue. He took one look at Eli and let out a sound that needed no translation. Disgust. Nella, the newcomer growled. What have you done? Nella straightened, putting herself between Eli and the newcomer. My duty, Vex. He was dying. So you formed a bond with a human. Vex spat the word as if it were poison. Do you understand what you've thrown away? Eli stood, wobbly but determined. I don't know what's happening here, but she saved my life. Where I come from, that deserves gratitude, not whatever this is. Vex turned to Eli, his red patterns flaring brighter. Silence, human. You have no idea what she has sacrificed for your worthless life. Vex. Nella's voice cracked like a whip. Enough. The tension in the room was palpable. Eli could feel something stirring inside him, an energy that seemed to resonate with Nella's presence. It was almost as if he could sense her emotions, determination, fear, and something deeper he couldn't quite identify. What sacrifice? Eli asked quietly. What are you telling me, Nala? Nala's shoulders slumped slightly. Healing bond is permanent. One-time connection. Cannot be formed again with another. The implications hit Eli like a physical blow. You mean you can never heal anyone else? Vex laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. Worse, human. She can never form a life bond. Never have a mate. Never continue her lineage. For you, she has condemned herself to solitude. Eli stared at Nala, who wouldn't meet his eyes. Is this true? Yes, she said simply. Why would you do that for me? A stranger. Before she could answer, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. Vex cursed in his native language. Your people, he snarled. They found us. The facility shook with a distant explosion. Dust drifted from the ceiling as emergency lights pulsed in rhythm with the alarms. They would not attack. Eli insisted, though uncertainty gnawed at him. The expedition had strict orders to avoid conflict, but if they believed he was being held prisoner. Vex grabbed Nala's arm. Council chamber. Now, they will decide what to do with your patient. He practically spat the last word. Eli felt a surge of protectiveness that seemed disproportionate to the brief time he'd known Nala. I'm coming too. This doesn't concern you, human, Vex growled. Seems like it concerns me quite a bit, actually, Eli countered, standing straighter. The strange energy he'd felt earlier was building inside him, lending him strength he shouldn't have had after his injuries. Nala intervened. He comes. His presence necessary. Council must see. Vex's patterns flashed angry red, but he didn't argue further. He led them through winding corridors, each turn taking them deeper into the Lyridian facility. Eli stayed close to Nala, noticing how other Lyridians they passed stared at them, with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Your people don't seem thrilled about your healing methods, Eli murmured to her. Healing bond sacred, she replied quietly. Used for life mates, family. Not outsiders. The implications hit Eli with increasing force. So we're basically bonded, she confirmed. Energy patterns intertwined. Permanent. They entered a vast chamber where 7 Lyridians sat in a semicircle on raised platforms. Their patterns glowed with various colors, blues, greens, and purples that seemed to indicate rank or position. The central figure, an elderly Lyridian with intricate white patterns, spoke first. Healer Nala, explain your actions. Nala stepped forward. High Elder, I found the human near death. Our treaty with their kind obligates medical assistance. Medical assistance, yes, the Elder replied. A sacred bond. That goes far beyond obligation. Another council member leaned forward. The human expedition is demanding his return. They believe we've taken him hostage. I'll speak to them, Eli offered. Explain what happened. The council regarded him with collective suspicion. The High Elder's patterns pulsed. Can you explain what you do not understand, human? Do you comprehend what Nala has sacrificed? I'm beginning to, Eli admitted. But I didn't ask for this. I didn't know. Ignorance does not change consequence, the Elder said. The bond is formed, energy exchanged. And now something unexpected has occurred. All eyes turned to Nala, whose patterns had dimmed noticeably. The bond flows both ways. The Elder continued. Nala's energy sustains you, but yours now influences her. An unprecedented situation. Vex stepped forward. High Elder, this abomination cannot stand. The bond must be severed. Nala gasped. That would kill him. Perhaps that is necessary, Vex suggested coldly. Eli felt that strange energy surge within him again, stronger this time. I'd prefer to avoid that option. Severing the bond would harm both, the High Elder said, but allowing it to continue, the consequences are unknown. Another explosion rocked the chamber, closer this time. The council members exchanged alarmed glances. "Your people grow impatient," the elder observed. "Let me speak with them," Eli insisted. "Stop this before anyone gets hurt." The High Elder's patterns flickered thoughtfully. "Very well. But first, we must understand what we face." He turned to Nulla. "The transference. How much of yourself did you give?" "Everything necessary," she answered quietly. "And what have you received in return?" Before Nulla could answer, Vex moved with startling speed, drawing a weapon and aiming it at Eli. "This ends now." What happened next defied explanation. Eli moved without thinking, faster than he should have been able to, his hand catching Vex's wrist and twisting with strength that sent the weapon clattering to the floor. The room fell silent. Eli stared at his own hand in disbelief. "As I suspected," the High Elder said softly. "The bond has transferred more than healing energy." Nayla looked at Eli with wide eyes. "Luridian abilities, strength, speed. The bond gave you our gifts." "And took hers in return," Vex snarled. "Look at her. Weakened, diminished for this creature." Eli turned to Nulla, seeing clearly now the cost of his healing. Her once vibrant patterns were faded, her posture slightly stooped. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I'm sorry." "I chose," she replied simply. The chamber doors burst open, and human soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Leading them was Captain Rice, Eli's second in command. "Commander Mason," she called, relief evident in her voice. "Are you all right?" Eli found himself standing protectively in front of Nulla. "I'm fine, Captain." "Lower your weapons. There's been a misunderstanding." "Sir." Captain Rice hesitated, her weapon still raised. "We tracked your emergency beacon. These aliens have held you for 3 days." "Not held," Eli corrected. "Saved. Lower your weapons." "That's an order." Reluctantly, Rice signaled the team to stand down. The tension in the chamber remained thick enough to cut. "High Elder," Eli addressed the council leader, "my people acted out of concern for my safety. No harm was intended." The elder's patterns pulsed thoughtfully. "Intent and outcome often walk separate paths, Commander Mason." Vex had recovered from Eli's surprising display of strength and now stood glaring at the human soldiers. "They'd violated our sanctuary. The treaty is broken." "No," Eli said firmly. "This situation is unique. We can resolve it peacefully." He turned to Reyes. "Captain, please take your team outside and establish a perimeter. No one enters or leaves without my authorization." Reyes looked uncertain. "Sir, medical should examine you first." "I've already received treatment," Eli replied, his hand unconsciously moving to the healed wound on his side. "Very effective treatment." After Reyes and her team reluctantly withdrew, Eli faced the council once more. "What happens now?" "To Nulla and me." The High Elder descended from his platform, approaching them slowly. "The bond cannot be undone without grave consequence to both of you. It seems your fates are now intertwined. There must be a way to reverse the energy transfer," Eli suggested. "Give Nulla back what she's lost." "Impossible," Vex interjected. "What's given is given." "Perhaps not," the elder said, studying them both intently. "The bond is new, still forming. It seeks equilibrium." Nayla looked up sharply. "Equilibrium? You mean?" "Balance," the elder confirmed. "What flows one way may flow another, if guided properly." Hope flickered across Nilla's face. "The ancient texts speak of such possibilities." Vex scoffed. "Myths and legends. There is no record of a successful rebalancing." "There is no record of a human Luridian bond at all," the elder countered. "We navigate uncharted waters." Eli stepped closer to Nulla. "Tell me what to do. How can I help?" "The connection must be completed," the elder explained. "Not half-formed as it is now. Full integration of energies. And that would help Nulla recover." "Theoretically," the elder said, "or it could strengthen the bond beyond any hope of future separation." Eli looked at Nulla. "Your choice. I won't force anything on you. Already chose, she replied softly. When I saved you. The decision made, the High Elder led them to a private chamber adorned with swirling patterns that matched those on Liridian skin. At the center was a shallow pool filled with luminescent liquid. The waters amplify energy, the Elder explained. Facilitate transfer. Both must enter. As the Elder departed, leaving them alone, Eli hesitated. Are you sure about this? Nailless patterns flickered weakly. No certainty, only necessity. They disrobed and entered the pool. The liquid was warm and tingled against Eli's skin, almost like the sensation of Nella's healing touch. As they faced each other in the water, the liquid began to glow brighter, responding to their presence. Now what? Eli asked. Complete connection, Nella said, reaching for his hands. Like before, but mutual. As their hands connected, energy surged between them, not the one-way flow of healing, but a circuit cycling between their bodies. Eli gasped as he felt Nella's essence flowing into him, and his flowing into her. The luminescent patterns on her skin brightened, while similar patterns began to appear faintly on his own skin. The world around them faded as the connection deepened. Eli could feel Nella's thoughts, her emotions, her initial duty to heal him transforming into something more complex. He understood now why she had chosen to save him, even at such cost. It wasn't just duty. It was recognition of something kindred in him, something that resonated with her own spirit. When they finally emerged from the pool, both glowing with renewed energy, they found the High Elder waiting. It is done, he said, not a question but a statement. The first true bond between our peoples. Nella's patterns now shone with renewed vigor, while Eli's skin retained a faint luminescence of its own. What happens now? Eli asked. Now, the Elder replied, you become the bridge, both Liridian and human, both healer and warrior, the living embodiment of what our peoples might become together. Outside, the human expedition and Liridian council waited in uneasy alliance. When Eli and Nella emerged together, their linked appearance, his faint patterns matching her vibrant ones, silenced all present. Commander, Rise asked uncertainly. Captain, Eli nodded. Please inform headquarters that we've made first contact with the Liridians in a more profound way than anticipated, and that I'll be serving as a permanent liaison between our peoples. Vex approached, his hostility diminished but not gone. The Council accepts this outcome, but many will not understand. Then we'll help them understand, Eli replied, one step at a time. As the two groups began tentative discussions around them, Nala turned to Eli. Regrets. Eli considered the strange new awareness flowing through him, the faint glow on his skin, and the connection he now shared with this alien healer who had given everything to save him. None, he answered honestly. Though I do have one request. Yes. Next time you need to heal someone, he said with a small smile, maybe let them keep their pants.